What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the official Wrestling Inc. podcast, alongside my co-hosts Raj Giri and Vince Russo. And this episode of the Wrestling Inc. podcast brought to you by On It. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have a big pay-per-view coming up on Monday, Wrestle Kingdom 10. Me and Raj have been doing interviews for it this week. I am going to need this to stay up. I'm on the East Coast. I'm up to like 6 or 7. Who knows how late the show is going to run with them doing New Japan World. And On It Shroom Tech is helping me get acclimated to staying up a little later. It gives me awesome energy. I'm going to be taking that Alpha Brain to help with my focus, things like that. And probably Monday morning actually, I'll be taking this New Mood as well because I'm not a morning type of person, but the super genius Raj over there takes Alpha Brain, and Wrestling Inc. wasn't built overnight. This guy has to work 7 days a week to make it happen. We highly encourage it. They have stuff like the T+, which Cesaro, Seth Rollins, Steve Austin use. It improves your strength. They did a study with Florida State powerlifters, and it increased their strength a staggering 36%. You can go to onit.com/wrestling and save 10% now. And if you don't like it, if you don't like being a super genius or being super strong, you can send it back. They'll give you your money back. We love the people at Onit. Great products that help me out a lot. But we had quite a bit of news before we even got into Raw tonight, guys. The Rock announced that he would be making an appearance at WrestleMania. Raj, were you surprised by this, and do you think it'll be in a wrestling role?
I wasn't that surprised. I don't think it's in a wrestling role. If it was, I don't think they would have announced it. I think they would have built the ankle to it. So I wasn't that surprised because, you know, for how big this WrestleMania is supposed to be, I mean, he's got to be there. So I figured if he couldn't get out of shooting, he would have done something by satellite or something. But yeah, it looks like he'll be there. My guess is a non-wrestling role, but yeah.
Vince, were you surprised by this?
Nah, I mean that's a big stadium, man, and I think they'll sell it out. I mean, I've said that in the past, but I think they're going to need all their big guns. So I was not surprised by that.
Well, we also had the news of Lemmy of Motorhead fame, who has made significant contributions to professional wrestling in the form of Triple H's theme, Evolution's theme. He passed away. Kind of a bummer. As somebody pointed out on Twitter, it's hard to recognize the Triple H character without that iconic music. Vince, I'll ask you, do you think that Lemmy could ever go into the Hall of Fame as a celebrity inductee?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I would think so. I mean, looking at some of the people that are already in the Hall of Fame, I would hope, that he would be selected. I think he definitely will be.
Raj?
Yeah, you've got to give him a nod over, Pete Rose and some of the guys in there. So absolutely, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's at this year's at the 2016 Hall of Fame. So yeah.
Yeah, big loss to the wrestling world. Apparently, they recorded a version of Sympathy of the Devil by the Rolling Stones for a WWE theme and liked it so much that they put it on their newest album or upcoming album. Raj, why do I see you cursing over there? What's going on?
It's gonna be a tough one, but
Raj and I. It's a good thing we were separated by 2 time zones, which it could still get me fired. I don't know. But his Broncos, as you can see, taking on my Bengals. My Bengals trying to get the #1 seed. His Broncos trying to steal a playoff spot. We're going to put the explicit tag on this one, I would imagine. Pretty insane game going on right now. But we had a Raw that was not necessarily insane. But normally we do the questions after Raw, but there was one that I actually got from one of my friends that I wanted to ask Vince. Now, Vince, this is a bit of a different question. I wonder if you've ever been asked it before. Oftentimes, I mean, even I, for the little indie crap promotion I work for, won a title, we get a replica. Do you have, or were you given, a WCW replica title?
No, I was not given a WCW replica title. As a matter of fact, if my memory serves me correctly, I think I did one interview holding that title, and that was just about the extent of it.
So you do not own a WCW title?
No, I do not.
I hate to tell you, Vince, but under any circumstances in which I would have won a WCW title, I'd probably buy 3 copies. I'd buy one for my parents, for my wife, for me. You got to revel in that, my friend. But, yeah, we kicked off Raw this week with Vince McMahon returning to the show, ran down Roman Reigns, actually brought out Roman Reigns, got in Roman Reigns' face, and I thought a lot of people hated this, but I thought it was really good how he talked about Roman Reigns' dad, said, I made your dad work an insane number of days in a row, paid him peanuts, and then Roman Reigns kind of nudged him, and Vince McMahon took a bump and played hurt. Raj, what did you think of this opening part of the segment?
You gotta wonder if that Vince's promo can be used in that concussion lawsuit going against him right now. that felt like that promo rang a little true to home, with so many guys who, from the 80s and stars in the 80s who, have kind of crappy lives right now due to the schedule and the wear and tear on their bodies from that period. I thought this was one of those things that I'm sure it looked good on paper. And just the execution, I thought, seemed off, and I thought it kind of sucked. I thought the acting was bad. I thought the reactions just seemed off. I think Vince seemed off, and the security guard was pretty terrible. I don't know. The whole angle kind of seemed kind of pointless, and instead of feeling like a big deal, like when Austin got arrested back in the day, it was played off for campy humor, and I just felt like it didn't work because of that.
I think I was the only person who liked it, judging by the response on Twitter and you as well. Vince, what did you think of it?
Sean, I got to tell you, it's funny, man, because just today I had to watch the episode from the Attitude Era where Vince is trying to get the belt off of Austin, and he booked Austin in a match against Goldust, and he made Jerry Briscoe the special guest referee, and Vince was the timekeeper at the bell. And I got to tell you, bro, even though I wrote that, I was sitting there believing it. I mean, between Austin's performance and Vince's and even Briscoe, they sucked you into the story. This whole thing, I mean, Raj used the word campy. The only thing that came to mind with me was hokey, man. It was just so unbelievable for me from beginning to end, and I am so tired. I mean, somebody's got to give me a lobotomy if I'm going to go 3 weeks in a row of hearing Stephanie scream like an absolute lunatic. Because I'm going to tell you, next time I think I'm going to shut the TV off and tap out of this show because it's the most annoying thing in the world, man. I don't know how anybody could think that's good.
And Roman really had nothing to do with Vince getting arrested. It was right. Them, their back and forth with the security guard. So I felt like it did nothing for him. He really just sat back and was trying to play cute, but really did nothing. And it's like, why would Vince even be angry at Roman when he did nothing?
Yes, Vince McMahon got arrested, got hauled off, got a good pop from the crowd, but man, I got to tell you guys, this crowd was painful tonight. I used to think that if a crowd is making noise, it's good, but they were not making good noise.
Man, Sean, I'm glad you brought that up. And it's tough on me because I know both you guys are trying to watch this football game, and I want to get through this as quickly as possible for the both of your sake. Trust me. But I'm glad you said that, Sean, because I wanted to say this and I completely forgot. Bro, I got to tell you, crowds being disrespectful to the performers in the ring is getting so out of hand. It's just not enjoyable. I mean, the chants of CM Punk and the chants of Daniel Bryan, it's such a disrespect to whoever is in the ring. It's not funny. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but man, sometimes I just wish those smart marks would just freaking, grow up, show a little respect to what these guys are doing, because, to me, that part of it is just getting ridiculous.
I agree with that, but at the same time, I feel like if you're being entertaining enough, they won't be chanting that. Like, if they were into that opening segment, they wouldn't have been chanting for CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. But yeah, I agree. It is disrespectful, but yeah, at the same time, they got to do their end and keep the audience, entertained and enthralled in what's going on. And
no, that's true. I'm not going to argue with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you paid for a ticket, you should be able to, voice your displeasure and stuff. But I guess I just don't know what chanting CM Punk accomplishes at this point.
That's just become kind of the standard, displeasure for the product as opposed to wanting him back. But
well, next up we had Neville taking on Kevin Owens, and Neville beat Kevin Owens in like a minute with a surprise roll-up. Kevin Owens kicks Neville's ass, beats the brakes off of him, runs through a commercial, comes back, Dean Ambrose, Kevin Owens is still there, Ambrose comes out, they brawl, Owens and Ambrose do. Vince, you have been very critical of the booking of Kevin Owens recently. What do you think of this new direction?
This is the best thing they did on the show. This is the best thing they've ever done for Owens. I told you a couple of weeks ago when he came out and laid out Ziggler and Ambrose, I told you I could dig this Owens. If they stay consistent with this, I can dig it. And this was the best thing they did all night. This was the best thing they did for Owens. Owens returning later was very, very well done. I hope they stay consistent with the character. I just want to point out, a couple of weeks ago, getting soda and popcorn thrown in the face, doing nothing. This week, he sees Ambrose coming down the aisle, and he meets Ambrose halfway down. That's inconsistency for the character. That's not Owens' fault. He's not writing it. I love this presentation of Kevin Owens, and I just hope they stay consistent with it.
I kind of disagreed. I always feel like when you do the angle of someone getting beat and then they kick the crap out of the guy they just beat, neither guy really gets over. You got Owens, yeah, he beats the guy after the fact, but he still got beat in 20 seconds or whatever it was. So I feel like ultimately in the long run, it doesn't do, for that segment, I don't think it did that much other than make Owens look like a sore loser.
I'm about to look like a sore loser here in about 23 seconds, it looks like. But I'm torn because I like the direction of Owens, but I don't know. I kind of agree that beating somebody that quickly and then having them kick their ass, it was like, well, what was the point of the win?
Yeah, you could have done something where he does that without losing. Like have Neville bust him up or bust his lip or something. Something. Not to where he loses quickly and then is mad and goes nuts.
Yeah. Now WWE was working with a split crew tonight. They didn't have Charlotte. They didn't have the Wyatt family. They didn't have several names because after the holidays they run double events because WWE tickets are a hot Christmas gift. So they were running a split crew tonight. Next up we had Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch. I have enjoyed the Becky Lynch-Charlotte stuff lately. It continued on SmackDown. This match went quite a while. The segment went about 20 minutes. I thought it was a pretty good match. The crowd started to crap on them midway through it. Sasha Banks eventually beat Becky. It seemed like they treated it kind of like a pay-per-view match. Sasha and Becky did. I don't know if WWE did. Sasha is the most over diva they have. Becky Lynch is gaining sympathy from me each week. Vince, how do you feel about these two in the match?
Well, a couple of things I want to say about this. First of all, man, I swear to God, it felt like this was like 3 hours of cheap heat. I get the cheap heat, but every segment we're going to put on a New England Patriot cap.
Yes! Sorry,
I didn't mute my mic, but
is everybody okay over there? Because I don't have my TV on, so I don't know what you're reacting to.
Man, Brandon McManus just
missed a field goal to win the game. Now it's going into overtime. All right.
Well, man, that was as bad of a field goal miss as you will see in the NFL. Anyway.
Sorry, Vince.
That's
Anyway,
okay.
Raj.
My point was two things I want to call. I mean, my point was there was so much cheap heat in this show. It was ridiculous. It was in every segment, picking on the Brooklyn crowd, and Vince is going to sue everybody in the audience, and Sasha's going to put on a New England Patriot hat. That's when I made the comment on Twitter. This show was written for preteens. It was ridiculous. The second best thing on the show tonight was I like that they are putting a little sympathy on Becky. They are starting to tell a little story with Becky, and I really enjoyed that. So, between the representation of the Owens character, between them making an attempt to give Becky a character, I mean, I like that part of it.
Yeah, I think it's hard to really hate someone just because they don't like the same football team as you, or they like your rivals, Like, they always do that, and it's like, all right, it's cheap. You'll get a quick boo from the crowd, but it doesn't really do anything long-term, or it's not effective.
Sasha, I gotta say that I benefit from that tonight.
Yeah, and then Becky and Sasha, we've seen this match so many times already. It's always the same ending. It kind of felt like it was just there to kill time, and they went long just because they had that split crew, and so when you got that split crew, you're getting 2-3 segments of this, 2-3 segments of the New Day, and you get a lot of filler, which is what we got tonight. And I thought there were a lot of missed spots in this match too, especially towards the end. They seemed a little off sync, but for having wrestled so many times.
The thing that was really funny, I don't even know if anybody there realized it or not, but Sasha puts on the Patriot hat to get heat. I think somebody should have smartened them up and explained to them that the Jets beat the Patriots yesterday. So it was like, it was like, hello, but whatever.
I want to ask you guys, where do you all think, where does the Divas title go at WrestleMania? Raj, who do you think is going to be in that match?
I think Sasha is an obvious choice. I think Charlotte and Sasha makes the most sense. I mean, they've protected Sasha. She hasn't lost yet, as far as by pinfall or submission. So it's obviously got plans for her, and that I think that makes the most sense. You split her off from Team Bad and have her be a babyface against heel Charlotte, and give them time, and then that's your real Divas Revolution right there. Is if you got these two. I mean, when was the last time you had a one-on-one women's title match at a WrestleMania? I can't even remember the last time. It might have been China or Trish Stratus. So. I think that would say a lot, and I think the fans would be into that one.
Also, we have a comment targeted towards Vince that says, "Hey Russo, Fargo season 2 sucks. Season 1 was 100 times better." I disagree. Although I did not. I stick to what I said, Vince. I did not like the UFO. Disappointed. Disappointed in the finale too.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in the finale. They should have ended a week sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch Making a Murderer on Netflix. It's the most riveting thing that I have seen in years. It's really, really good stuff, guys. Yeah, so we got the 20 minutes of Sasha and Becky. Next up, we had an extended segment between New Day and the Lucha Dragons. We had Kofi versus Kalisto, and I had tweeted that maybe this will be like a WCW-style cruiserweight match that takes up some time, does some cool spots. No, Kalisto beat Kofi. Then Xavier Woods got on the mic, looked like he was challenging Sin Cara, but then put it all on Big E, who had I thought was an awesome match for those two. And given the circumstances, Big E and Sin Cara took a disgusting bump from the apron to the floor and either separated or dislocated his shoulder, kept wrestling, still hit beautiful moves, and I hate to say it because I hope he's okay, but the shoulder injury made the match a million times better than it probably would have been without it. Raj, what did you think of this segment?
I don't see why you're doing spots like that on a match that no one cares about on Raw. That's such a dangerous spot. There's no point in doing it. So I was not a fan of that. I think Big E does too many of those dangerous spots for TV matches, which are completely unnecessary, like the spear to the outside of the ring and moves like that. So I was impressed that he continued, but it was completely unnecessary for a match that no one's going to remember next week.
Vince, as a writer, when you see guys, like whether you're going to use them or not, say you've got like somebody from the job squad who takes a spot like that, What do you think? Like, what goes through your mind when you see somebody getting yanked off of the apron like that, and you're thinking, I might have to use this person. I have something written for them. Obviously, they don't have anything written for the Lucha Dragons. What do you think?
I'll be honest with you, Sean. I'm not even thinking that. I'm thinking they're absolute idiots. I mean, I really am. I mean, when there's, I remember there was a crazy X Division match at TNA, and I remember the guys yelling at me after the match because Christopher Daniels almost killed himself doing one of those moves. So they came to me screaming at me. And I remember standing there and I was saying, guys, who came up with that spot? And they all looked at me and said, Daniels. I'm like, then why are you screaming at me? If the guy wants to go out there and decides he wants to kill himself, that's on him, not me. But I agree with what Rod said. It's ridiculous. I swear, I would just love to see somebody do a study of the injuries, really starting from the year 2000, going through to 2015, and seeing the number of injuries increase year after year after year after year by just doing things that are totally unnecessary.
I was going to ask you, was the spot in question the Kazarian Christopher Daniels Ultimate X spot?
I think it was.
Yeah, that was.
And writers are not going to come up with spots like that. I mean, that's all on that. Yeah, that's on all the talent when they're going through the match, and I'm seeing it for the first time, and I'm like, my reaction is, "Are you nuts? You're gonna kill yourself out there."
I remember seeing that, and I was terrified by it. I hate that spot hurt Sin Cara. I thought the match was really good. It's a shame that got Sin Cara sympathy in my eyes because nothing else really did.
So Vince, I had a question kind of along those same lines. So like when The Rock and Mankind, when they did that Royal Rumble match where Rock was just nailing away at Mankind with the steel chair in his head, do the writers did you guys have any say in that ending, or was
absolutely not? That was all on them. That was all on them, and whoever the agent of the match was. It was between the three of them. But it's a thing like where as a writer, I'm just sitting in the back watching this, and I'm like, are you guys kidding me? I mean, they the boys get carried away, man, and that's why sometimes you have to protect them from themselves. But a lot of times you don't know what they're going to do till you see it.
So what kind of impact does that have on you when you've got to write a show the next night on a pay-per-view, like after the Royal Rumble, and you've got a guy who's been obliterated with a chair 400 times? Do you know if you can even write for him yet? Do you know if he'll be available?
No, you really don't know till the day of. And then, basically at that point, if he can't work the match, you've got to keep him on TV, you got to keep him prevalent, but you've got to work around the match that was supposed to be booked, and you can't book now.
Well, interesting that I brought up the Job Squad because that's what we got on Miz TV this week. The Miz came out, was interrupted by Ryback, Zack Ryder, Heath Slater, Goldust, and finally R-Truth, who asked people to vote for him in the Slammies, which I thought was kind of funny. All of this was done to set up the Big Show's return. Big Show came out, slaughtered everyone. Truth punched himself and tried to get away with it. But Big Show tossed him out, then tossed Ryback out. This led to a Big Show Ryback match, which, now, I didn't get this. You just had Big Show, like I said, slaughter 6 guys, and he cowers away from one of those 6 guys and takes a count out. What happened to the pay window? Does that not exist anymore? This guy just beat ass on 6 different dudes. And he's like, nah, I'm done. Vince, what do you think of this booking?
Man, guys, I just thought this was just absolutely horrendous. And I swear to God, if you guys notice this, the crowd is taking over the show. And I really think at some point the WWE has to throw down the red flag. It's starting to affect their show. Listen, Ambrose and Sasha are 2 darlings of the show. I think everybody would agree. I think there's some concern when 2 weeks in a row they're chanting, this is boring during an Ambrose match, and this is boring during a Sasha match this week. There's a problem here, and they're going to have to justify it, but they're not justifying it. They're playing into the audience. it blew my mind when the crowd was chanting, please retire, please retire, please retire, and Big Show addressed it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to me. The crowd is taking over the show. I never thought I would see that with Vince McMahon in charge. Never in a million years.
I would love to see, like, especially when Ryback was a heel and they would chant, "You can't wrestle" at him. If you're going to address him, just say, "You can't either." Because, I mean, the people in the crowd can't wrestle either.
At least the people in the crowd can probably cut a promo better than Ryback. His lines are just terrible.
They're consistently terrible, too.
It's kind of humorous him talking about what a big, 2016 he's going to have. And the next thing you know, he's in the segment with Zack Ryder and Goldust and, all these, job guys who haven't been on the show in forever. So I thought that was kind of funny.
By the way, this was Ryback and Big Show's 17th televised match that they were both involved in against each other in a year. 17. Next up, we had Ambrose and the Usos taking on the League of Nations. The League of Nations won, which I thought they probably needed to. I was interested going into this because, Wade Barrett's hurt, and I don't think he worked at all in this match. Raj, were you surprised that they even put him out there?
I don't know if they're just testing him out or, whatever, but I don't know. This was one of those where just another long match where people didn't care, and like Vince was saying, you got Dean Ambrose out there who just a couple months ago was one of the hottest guys in the company that you could not, force the fans to boo, and now they're tuning out of his matches. The League of Nations sucks as a heel group. They weren't given the proper build to and credibility to form a heel group, and it's just showing. People don't care.
Vince, what did you think of this, and what do you think of the super hot League of Nations?
Well, you know what it is, Sean? It's like, listen, bro, we can look at, you guys are watching the football game there. You could no, I'm using that as an example. We can look at NFL, we could look at NBA, we could look at Major League Baseball. You could look at MMA. You're going to have teams that are well above 500. You're going to have teams that are well below 500. Then you're going to have a bunch of 500 teams. The WWE is trying to make everybody 500. Ambrose beat Sheamus last week. So this week we'll give Sheamus his win back with the League of Nations. It's tit for tat, and like nobody's getting over. Everybody's a 500 ball club, and man, again, they have to decide who do we want to get over. This back and forth, it's an even playing field, and nobody is winning, nobody's losing.
Ah, crap. Yeah, I hate 50-50 booking. It drives me nuts. Nobody gets good. I've said it a million times. Like, had Ronda Rousey lost half of her fights, if Conor McGregor lost half of his fights, they wouldn't be doing a million pay-per-view buys right now.
Well, it's like this. It's, WWE, when they're saying they're entertainment, not a sports show. Well, 80% of your show is matches. And so if you're not treating those matches like a sport, like making it mean something, then 80% of what you're watching is meaningless. And, you just got to start looking at, how sporting events treat a game and why people care and why, people care in a Ronda Rousey fight. And it's not because Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm are going to trade victories back and forth. You build a strong heel, you build a strong babyface, and then write the angles, and you got the advantage because you can script it the way you want, but they're not doing that.
Could you imagine if Dana White could pick the winners in the UFC fights?
Geez, yeah, I mean,
they would have the biggest stars in the universe. By the way, Vince, I had a question for you. Watched ROH Final Battle a few weeks ago. I may have tweeted you about this. Steve Corino was not at ringside, but a guy who sounded like him was, but it was Mr. Wrestling 3. Was that you, Vince? I remember your TNA debut.
That was me under the hood, yeah.
I knew it. I knew you had been positioning yourself for a Ring of Honor color commentating job.
Yeah, that was me. You got me. Nice.
Yeah. Breaking news here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast, you guys. Next, we saw...
You guys do know that every wrestler you talk to will tell you MMA's a work. You know that, right?
Yeah, I've talked to a few.
Oh, everyone, but everyone will tell you MMA is a work. Every single one of them will tell you that.
Yeah. If MMA was a work, Brock Lesnar would be UFC heavyweight champion right now.
Yeah. Yep. We then saw Vince McMahon leaving jail. Renee Young was on the scene. Renee Young's awesome. I'll just say that. She's fantastic at her job. Vince McMahon, I thought, played this off very well. That led into, well, they did a tribute for Lemmy. That was nice that they did that on such short notice.
It was a kind of awkwardly placed tribute. Like, when they already made the ring introductions for the title match and did the angle, and then they do the tribute. And, I'm glad they did the tribute, obviously, but it just seemed weird to do it when you're waiting for the title match, I'd
imagine they needed all the time they could get because it happened shortly before Raw went on the air.
Yeah, that could be.
Or at least the news broke that way. This led to the return of John Cena. He came out. Raj looks upset. You know what, Raj? You could use some of this on it new mood because, or maybe I'll need it here in a few minutes. But anyway, John Cena came out, challenged Alberto Del Rio, which, we knew the match was happening. I had been told all week it was a U.S. title match. So then Cena said that it wasn't, and I was a little surprised. Eventually, he goaded Del Rio into a U.S. title match.
This is back to what I was talking about. In a sport, you don't decide at the last minute if it's a title match or not, and the champion doesn't get to determine. It's the same thing as the Big Show announcing he's #1 in the Royal Rumble. Since when can you just decide you're in the Royal Rumble or not? You know what I mean? Treat it more like a sport. What you could have done with the Royal Rumble #1 spot is set up a match, an angle, where you have a match and the loser gets the #1 spot. The other one, is in the Rumble. But it just made no sense why someone would want to be #1, and it makes no sense that it's back to that Vince and Roman Reigns things from a couple of weeks ago, where all you have to do to change a heel's mind is just throw some lame insults, and they're back to doing whatever you ask for.
Yeah, I would like to see them over the next 4 weeks use the Royal Rumble as a positioning point. Let some people in the match, let some people not in the match. Make it mean something that, virtually all these people get to be in a #1 contenders match. That's why I'm very glad they don't do Elimination Chamber in February, because I always thought it was pretty stupid to have 30 guys compete for #1 contendership. Then the month after, 5 guys get a title shot in one match. I always thought that was really stupid. John Cena Alberto Del Rio got DQ'd. The hobbled Usos came out to help him. Roman Reigns came out to help him and hit a giant spear on Rusev. Like, holy crap. Roman Reigns' entrance ramp spears are unbelievable. Vince, would you have done... this kind of gets Cena out of his rematch. He no longer has a rematch for the U.S. title. What did you think of the booking of this? Roman Reigns helping, Usos helping, all the involvement. What did you think of all this?
Sean, you know what would have been the easiest thing in the world to do? You know Cena's returning. You know the response Cena's going to get. Half of them are going to cheer him, half of them are going to hate him. You know that going in, okay? The main goal is to try to get Reigns over. Obviously, everything they're doing is to try to get Reigns over. If this is me writing this show, the last thing I'm seeing is Reigns comes down and saves the day, and the last thing he does is he gets that chair from Sheamus. He goes to nail Sheamus with the chair. Sheamus ducks it, and Reigns lays out Cena with the chair. That's how I would have. Mm-hmm. First of all, that would have got him a huge pop. A huge pop. Second of all, now you go off the air with that. You could do anything with it next week. Whatever you want to do, you can do with that. But the fact of the matter is, whether Vince is the referee, the timekeeper, whatever role he plays, everyone and their mother knows, okay, we're not putting the belt back on Sheamus. So, that's just an absolute waste of time. I mean, if they would have did something with Reigns and Cena and left a hook and a question mark, get people to tune in next week. But come on, is Sheamus really going to beat Reigns for the title, whether Vince is reffing or not? Just bad, man. It's just bad.
You know what else kind of shocked me regarding this was the Cena, that they didn't have Cena when the game went to halftime. They had that Miz TV segment. Now, you would think a lot of people are watching this game, and to get some of that audience back, why not have the Cena do a promo during that spot, or something to build up to this match. It just shocked me that the Miz TV, I think it was the Miz TV, it was either that or it was something else just completely skippable that was
that or the six man.
Yeah, and just Cena's coming back after 2 months, and he didn't really do much at all on this show until the final segment. But I like Vince's idea. I think that would have been really intriguing. It would have gotten people talking, and yes, you could have went so many different ways with it.
Yeah, I believe that maybe Cena or Triple H are the only two people on that roster right now that would take that at this moment in time they'd consider putting the belt on over Reigns. So to keep Sheamus involved in that is super weird, I think.
Who else do you got, though? That's the problem.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I kind of skipped over, they had a cool, after the six-man tag, Kevin Owens ran out and attacked Dean Ambrose, put him through a table. As Vince said earlier, I thought this was some of the best stuff on the show, if not the best stuff on the show. Vince, what were your thoughts?
It was the best stuff on the show. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And again, my hope is that they stay consistent with his character. Right now, I don't have the confidence in them that they will. I hope they prove me wrong, because I think this is who Kevin Owens needs to be.
Yeah, I thought that was a good angle, and I wasn't a big fan of him losing, but I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, if that's what makes him snap and turn into a hothead, then so be it. That would be fine. Vince, this is a big not happening show. We, like I said, split crew. Usually it takes us 40, 50 minutes to get through Raw. It took us about 25, and we're watching a football game. What would you rate this show?
They're back down to a 2 with me, guys. Back down to a 2, man. They had it up to a 4, and that might have been a little generous, but they're back down to a 2.
They phoned this one in. It was total lack of creativity or care.
I'll say this. I think we all deserve WCW replica titles for sitting through this show.
Oh, man, I'd take it.
Personally, that's how I feel. Vince, going into WrestleMania, since we have a few extra minutes, what are some programs that you would put together for WrestleMania?
Oh, God. I mean, obviously, Triple H and Reigns, that's something that's going to be built, and they'll probably build it well because Triple H is involved. God, man, I just have to tell you, outside of that, off the top of my head, I couldn't really tell you. What match is there that you really want to see right now? The only other angle they're really working is Ambrose and Owens, but I don't think they're going to play that through till WrestleMania. I honestly don't know what else is there that I want to see.
Well, what did they do with Roman Reigns for the Royal Rumble? Because if they're blowing off the Sheamus feud next week, which I'm not sure they are or not, but if they are, then you would think that then it would be Triple H at Mania. At the Rumble against Roman Reigns. So, which I think at Mania, obviously it's a much bigger match, but I'm just kind of curious. I can't really tell which way they're going with that.
Well, how many weeks away are we from Rumble now?
I think 4. 4.
Yeah, so you think they could build that in 4 weeks?
Triple H and Roman?
Yeah.
I don't think they could keep Roman and Sheamus going for another 4 weeks.
No, definitely not. There's no question about that. No.
But yeah, usually they've been building, like Taker and Lesnar. They built those over a few weeks, so I think they could. Yeah, I don't know, because I don't see what else they got.
Well, Vince,
sorry. All right.
Does that mean it's over?
Yep. All right. Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
I could tell who the winners and the losers are just by looking at the expressions right now.
That was something.
I just know, I always know, guys, the Bo Jackson curse will always come back to haunt the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati sports in general have failed since the Bengals ended Bo Jackson's career. It will never end. I mean, we have Dean Ambrose and Machine Gun Carl Anderson as pro wrestling champions. That's really it. Vince, I want to thank you for taking the time, surviving through this emotional battle with us. And then that was before the podcast even started. That was just getting raw.
Now I've got to go back and watch SportsCenter so I could see what I was missing.
Oh, man. But
yeah, take care, Vince. Thanks
take
again.
care, guys. Have a good rest of your show.
Thank you. So, Raj, we have wipe the smile off your face. Come on. Come on.
Yeah,
really?
right.
I got to deal with that.
All right.
Anyway, we have two, I won't say giant pay-per-views, but I mean pretty big pay-per-views. Any UFC pay-per-view this day and age seems kind of big. We have Robbie. Yeah, this one's just this main event to me is lackluster. Robbie Lawler, Carlos Condit, UFC 195. Don't worry, guys. We're talking pro wrestling again here in a few minutes. To me, Robbie Lawler might be the most beatable champion in the UFC.
Yeah, I agree. He's I think I bet against him almost every fight, and he keeps proving me wrong. So I need to stop doing that. And man, what a comeback he's had. I think it'll be a fun fight, but it's just one of those between the events we just had. It's hard to really care too much about this. And the co-main, what is this co-main? I know Poirier.
Stipe Miocic versus Andrei Arlovsky.
Yeah, so there you go.
The winner very well may get a title shot. So you have Miocic versus Arlovsky. Arlovsky's the feel-good story. He's the guy who 10 years ago was running stuff in the UFC, had those 4 brutal knockouts.
Yeah, I wanted him to retire after those knockouts because he's doing permanent damage. But man, it's a great comeback story. I mean, I'll be watching it, but I can't say I'm looking forward to it like the string of pay-per-views that they've had.
Yeah, other main card fights: Diego Brandao versus Brian Ortega, Albert Tumanov versus Lorenz Larkin, Abel Trujillo versus Tony Sims. Not a big-time show. You have the returning Michael McDonald, not of musical fame, unfortunately, on the prelims. He's been a top 5 bantamweight in the past. You have Dustin Poirier versus Joseph Duffy. That's probably the 3rd biggest fight on the show, but they headlined Fight Pass with it because they wanted to make it up because Joseph Duffy got hurt earlier this year or in a Fight Pass main event or before a Fight Pass main event. Joseph Duffy, guys, for those of you who don't know, last guy to beat Conor McGregor, and he's came to the UFC and won 2 in a row very handily, mind you. He has looked excellent at lightweight where Conor McGregor has said he's moving to soon.
I know you want to build up Fight Pass, but there's such a story there that I think it just makes so much sense because most of the cards on the fights on the main card could easily be on the prelims. So this one has a story, and if it went a certain way, it could build to something big. So I'm kind of surprised that they're putting it in the spot where people are. No one's going to see it.
If you can sell a pay-per-view or two just by proxy of having association with Conor McGregor, then do it.
Right.
This is a guy you advertise it on Fox and you say, this is the last man to defeat Conor McGregor. Maybe you'll get a buy or two. Who knows? Over 1 million people over 1 million people bought UFC 194. So yeah, I guess I'm happy that they're making it up to the Fight Pass subscribers, I guess, but man, it's a pretty bare card. But the 2 main event fights should be the co-main and the main event should be pretty good. You never know what to expect out of an Arlovsky fight. It'll either be fantastic or terrible. But yeah, guys, we'll have you covered at Wrestling Inc. If you don't want to order the pay-per-view, come join us. If you do order the pay-per-view, come join us in the viewing party. The last 2 have been really, really fun. Really enjoyed that, and looking to continue. And, of course, next Monday, super early, we have Wrestle Kingdom 10. I'll be doing live coverage of that as well. Raj, me and you have been doing interviews with New Japan talents, Bullet Club talents. It's basically Bullet Club week here with Carl Anderson and AJ Styles. We've been talking to them all week. you got an update on AJ Styles back earlier today.
I don't know if it's really an update. He says he's good to go, but AJ seems like one of those guys that if he's injured, he's going to do his damnedest not to show it. So he's saying he feels great and he's ready to go, and it was just a bump in the road, but we'll have to see. I hope if that's true, then that's great. If it's not, I hope he takes some time off after this pay-per-view and heals up.
Yeah, not only did he wrestle at Final Battle, but the entire match, everybody knew his back was hurt, so they based the entire match around his back being hurt and worked it over the whole match.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's okay. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura is, man.
That's the main event for me right there.
Yeah, that's a big time show. I've always said that Shinsuke Nakamura is one of those talents that if he didn't speak a word of English, even, I think he could, with the right booking, I think he could get over in WWE just based on how charismatic and eccentric he is. And the Intercontinental title over there is as big as the IWGP Heavyweight title. That's big time. That's such a big time. And like AJ actually said in your interview with him today, which will be up, I think early next week, it's a first-time match. And I say that all the time. I love these first-time matches on pay-per-view. They feel huge. And
yeah, while the interview will be up next week, his comments about the New Japan pay-per-view and Nakamura and everything will be up this week, before the show. I think it'll, and I guess even if we get it up, because it's Monday morning, Sunday night, right? Yeah.
Yes. Sunday night, Monday morning.
So it will be, it'll be a fun match. I mean, these guys are both guys at WWE. I just give them they haven't done well with Japanese talent in the past. I'll put it that way. Nakamura seems like a sure thing, but they just have the track record, says it all. AJ Styles, it just seems like it's a no-brainer to want in your organization, and it's just nuts that I think James Storm is great, but you pick James Storm over AJ Styles. That seems crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, and who knows how? I mean, it might be a part-time deal for James Storm. Probably not the type of money AJ Styles would have commanded.
Yeah, that's true.
But as I mentioned, I spoke to Carl Anderson. He and Doc Gallows are defending the IWGP tag team titles, heavyweight tag team titles, against Toge Makabe and Tomoaki Hanma. Hanma's been embroiled in some controversy, some domestic abuse allegations, things like that. But he and Makabe are really over in Japan. They have their own TV shows in Japan. That's a big match. The Bullet Club is in a ton of title matches next Monday. I know a lot of people. There are just people that I know that only watch New Japan for the Bullet Club, because that it's really transcended Japanese wrestling, and it's worked over here. You have Kenny Omega, another guy that WWE had at one point, and due to Bill DeMott, he kind of left the developmental. He's taking on Kushida. He's defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. To me, I think this will be an awesome match. I think Kushida and Kyle O'Reilly had match of the year earlier this year. I thought that was the best one. And then, there's a Ring of Honor world title match on the show. Jay Lethal defending against Michael Elgin. Do you see them switching the Ring of Honor title on a New Japan pay-per-view?
If I were ROH, I wouldn't want that. I'd want you to own the footage where it happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
to a non-contracted guy too, because Elgin is not contracted.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So my guess would be no title change there.
Yeah. Again, as I said, Bullet Club and a ton of title matches. Bad Luck Fale, Tama Tonga, Yujiro Takahashi against the Briscoes and Toru Yano for the new never open weight 6-man tag team titles. They do a lot of 6- and 8-man tags in Japan. This should be a fun match. I mean, it shouldn't blow the doors off of you or anything, but what do you think about them adding a 6-man tag title? It will work for Lucha Underground, but this is a categorically different situation than Lucha Underground.
I guess, again, looking at history, it's never really worked before. So I don't think they need any more titles.
Yeah, I think there's 8 title matches on this show.
Yeah. The more titles you got, the more they've, all the ones feel less important.
Yeah, I agree. I'm okay with the idea of 6-man tag titles, but when you have 2 other sets of tag titles already, man, I don't know. But they have the New Japan Rumble, which is where they bring in legends, and basically it's like the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal of Wrestle Kingdom. You get all the guys on the show that aren't on there. It has guys like Yuji Nagata, Tiger Mask, Jushin Thunder Liger, Taguchi, Kojima, Tenzan, Jado, people like that. But man, this match is I'm looking forward to seeing this junior heavyweight tag title match, but I'm not looking forward to covering it. It is the Young Bucks, Bullet Club members, against Roppongi Vice, which is Beretta and Rocky Romero, versus Matt Sydal and Ricochet. Ricochet, obviously plays Prince Puma in Lucha Underground, versus Red Dragon, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. That's probably going to be banana sandwiches, Raj.
Yeah, it could be a big mess, and there's a lot of talented guys in that. I think you could get some awesome singles matches out of the guys that are in that one match. But it'll be like a Money in the Bank, crazy spot fest with a bunch of super kicks.
Yeah, I would imagine that next year's Best of the Super Juniors tournament is going to be insane for New Japan, because they're going to have. I mean, it's always crazy, but it's going to be really crazy next year. Also, Hiroki Goto versus Tetsuya Naito. I was not a big fan of Naito going into this year. I didn't like. I mean, he never sold anything. Now he's turned heel. He's given me a reason to justify my dislike of him. I think it's helped reinvigorate his already good career. Then there is Tomohiro Ishii versus Katsuyori Shibata for the Never Openweight Championship. These guys are going to beat the hell out of each other. That leaves the main event, Okada, Tanahashi. Okada defending the title against Tanahashi. These guys have main evented, I don't know how many Wrestle Kingdom shows. Do you think this was the right call, having them do this again? I mean, there's a storyline that Okada has never beaten Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom.
I gotta be honest. It doesn't really excite me, because I have seen this match so many times. Even if they go with Okada finally winning, I don't know. It just doesn't do much for me. And because of that, I feel like this show, I'm really looking forward to Styles and Nakamura. But other than that, it's not doing the same thing for me like last year's event.
Yeah, and it's on New Japan World, and quite honestly, I got to say that I'm a little terrified of it, because there were so many streaming issues with King of Pro Wrestling, and they're not on traditional pay-per-view. It is on the streaming service. They do have Kevin Kelly, Matt Stryker there, Yoshitatsu doing some translation. He doesn't speak the best English. Don't know how that will go. I'm just a little worried about this. I think the show will be good, but just worried about how there's going to be a lot of first time New Japan World orders on this, and they got to get it right this time.
Yeah.
Let's do some questions. Does it make any sense that Reigns hasn't at the very least been suspended for assaulting Triple H and Vince? Yes, and they should explain that by saying we can't afford to suspend our champion, maybe.
Yeah, that always shocked me that they never did that with Vince and Stone Cold back in the day. They never explained why Stone Cold could keep beating the crap out of Vince. And it's an easy explanation, just saying, it's too much money. It's no way you're going to WCW. But they never did that. And it's a big storyline snafu. It's a big hole.
Part of the reason that makes Vince or Triple H so dubious, they hate these people, but they hate the idea of losing money even more. So they want to deal with it in their own way. Let's see. Any chance of Cena putting over Reigns in a match someday? Hell yeah, there is. I'm sure he will.
Yeah, if he's asked to, he'll do it. He'll put some over if it makes sense. On the WWE's side, he's their top star, and you can't have him losing every feud. Now, that doesn't mean that you keep building these young guys, and when they're really getting over, then you just have them lose to them. There's other ways to do it, but he'll do it if it's the right thing to do. He loses all the time,
Yeah. Does Kevin Owens have all the necessary skills to be WWE's top heel someday?
Absolutely.
I agree.
It's just and this isn't me, but his physique at some point, Vince, Vince is a big body guy, and at some point, will that hold him off from pulling the trigger? That's where I see the issue happening. But Kevin Owens is awesome. I think he's great in the ring. He's great on the mic. He's got a believable character. So it just comes down to if Vince decides not to bury the guy.
Do you guys remember when the guy who started a match strong didn't go over every time? Yes. Happens more than you think.
Lesnar, Cena, off the top of my head. But yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, doesn't go over? Where the guy that starts strong ends up losing? Is that what they're saying?
Yes.
Where that hasn't happened?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's probably examples on this show, right?
Yeah. Since fans get bored so quickly, should all matches and promo segments in Raw be restricted to under 10 minutes? Hell no.
No, but I don't think every match should go 2 segments or even that many. But the problem with the 3-hour Raw is that you got a lot of time to fill. I think because pay-per-views, that used to be the big thing. That's why you got a pay-per-view. So you got the longer matches, and now you're just having tons of them every week that they're starting to mean less and less. You'll see these good matches on Raw that are forgotten, whereas, on a pay-per-view, it meant something and people got over because of them. Now they're doing it to kill time, and it doesn't do anyone any favors. So, I'd like to see more storyline things, more storyline progression, and just, give these matches more meaning, or, have more reality too. Look at how UFC promos are. Look at why Conor McGregor is so successful. They're not playing hokey characters. They're they're grounded in reality.
A good example, Brock Lesnar can't cut a promo in WWE to save his life. In the UFC, he was one of the best promos.
Right. Yeah.
Because of how real he was.
Well, you don't have to be this giant douchebag character to be a great heel. You could just come off really cocky and condescending, like John Jones is a great example of this guy. Yeah. It's a heel. He's just always trying to say the right thing. And that, he's condescending, that he's not meaning what he's saying.
That he's not fake. And he has said as much.
Yeah. And you can do those kind of characters. Not everyone has to be the same exact, like the Seth Rollins character is what they're trying to make Sheamus and all these guys, and it just gets hokey.
Yeah. Was Sheamus pushed because of his size? I can't think of any other reason. No, he's Triple H's buddy. That can't hurt.
Well, he's Triple H's buddy partially because of his size, working out with him and everything. So, yeah, I mean, that's if he didn't have his physique, I don't see why else he'd be in the spot.
Who's winning the Rumble? I think Triple H is.
Man, that's I don't know. If they don't go with Triple H versus Roman, I think what they do next week will be telling. If they have Roman beat Sheamus clean, then my guess would be that they're doing Triple H versus Roman at the Rumble. If not, I'd go with Triple H. Otherwise, probably Lesnar.
Is Stone Cold making an appearance or will Stone Cold make an appearance at WrestleMania 32? God, I would imagine so.
Oh yeah, I don't see how they would let that one fall through the cracks. I mean, he's for sure. It's a shame, I get his reasons for not wanting to wrestle again, but man, it would be such a special thing, and this just seems like such the right time for it. But that's just as a fan speaking, but. If he really can't, there's so many reasons he shouldn't. And I don't know if his neck, where it's at or not, if it's just really, he just doesn't want to do it, but it would be awesome. And if he's not doing it here, it's not happening.
Do you think New Day has run its course after tonight? And when will they get rid of those ugly penny tag team belts? They can't soon enough. Those things are ugly. I don't think New Day has run its course.
No, they just need to find other stuff to do with them. Mm-hmm. I think Big E's getting a little too over the top to where it's just coming off like just, I don't know, cheesy is the right word. Just they're trying to. He's trying too hard, as opposed to Xavier Woods seems more natural. I think they should tweak it a little bit. Just always doing the pre-match promo is getting old. If they do more backstage stuff and just get more creative with them, I think there's plenty of legs, with that act.
Let's see. How many of the fans who break record attendance at WrestleManias every year are actual fans of WWE or those who watch Raw weekly? I would say the majority of them are pro wrestling fans. I'm sure there are some family members that go along that aren't.
Yeah, I would say, I'd probably say like 70%. And then there's, because they're the ones that are willing to spend that kind of money for a ticket. It's not a cheap ticket.
Hey, Sean, how about them Bengals?
Rough one.
Fight me. Dean Ambrose next year turning heel while holding the IC title. IC versus world champion Dean versus Roman. I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I think a heel turn would be great for him. I think it would mix things up. They're so weak on the heel side, but the IC title, it just doesn't mean enough to put it up against the world title, and unless it's on a B pay-per-view. But at some point it should happen, and that should be a feud somewhere down the road.
Yes, indeed. King of Swag Style singing John Cena's praises. Would you want, and this is a different question, by the way, after WrestleMania or at WrestleMania 32, would you want a heel Cena to be a thugonomic version or a different type? He can't ever be that type again.
No.
If he ever turns heel, it's just, I don't know. Which, I mean, hopefully it happens down the line, a la Hogan.
Well, here's the thing with Hogan. If he turned, and I've made this point before, if he turned heel and went with the Dungeon of Doom and some storyline like that, it wouldn't have had the effect. It would have been a shock just because it's Hogan turning heel, but it wouldn't have had the effect that him turning heel with the NWO had. It's got to be the right storyline. It's got to be the right angle, and just turning him heel for the sake of turning heel, it'll get old quick. I think he should do it like Hogan and Brett did, where they're talking about what role models they were, and the fans turned on him, and he's done letting back. He's sick of the fans. He's been doing everything for them, and because he's done so much charity stuff, I almost feel like he has to say, for his hardcore fans and the kids, he's still there. But other than that, he's gonna tear shit up.
Two more questions. Do you think backstage interviewers should have more character instead of just asking questions? I don't think it would hurt, but not like Joel Gertner territory or anything.
You could do like a Gene Okerlund, but
Yeah,
it's hard to, but you don't just
they don't fall into your lap.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be like a natural. Someone's got to have that kind of natural charisma. And Renee Young is, she's very charismatic. She stands out, whereas a lot of the other guys don't. Yeah,
I've always heard that she's a sought out commodity on television, actually. Any chance of Brock Lesnar winning the Rumble and facing Roman Reigns? Yeah, sure. I think there's a possibility.
Yeah, like I said, if they do Triple H and Roman at the Rumble, that's what my WrestleMania match pick would be Reigns and Lesnar.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for joining us. As I said, keep your eye on the site. Carl Anderson interview, AJ Styles interview, my interview with Pope. The first half is up. Wrestle Kingdom early Monday morning, Sunday night. UFC 195 this Saturday. As always, check out onit.com/wrestling. Save 10%. Support the podcast. Raj, I hate you. I wish only the worst for you.
A rough night.
Yeah, you didn't have Peyton Manning there to throw a pick to Pac-Man Jones to change things, but this was a war of attrition, this podcast.
Yeah, we made it. All right. Take care.
Yes,
guys. We will have more New Japan Pro Wrestling coverage going forward. We're trying to do as much as we can.
Yeah, support it, guys. I will cover as much as Raj asks me to because I love New Japan. I love doing these viewing parties with you guys. I know you've noticed a major upswing in New Japan coverage. So support it and we'll keep doing it. But talk to you guys later.